Good morning, Mr. Ambassador. It is an honor for GCT to be able to speak with you. We have witnessed a very challenging negotiation over the first days, and then some reasons for hope. Could you please explain some of the highlights and challenges experienced during the INC-2 negotiations in Paris this week?
Yes, well, first of all, good morning. It's very nice to be with you here in Paris in this negotiation that actually are quite important, as you mentioned. We have faced some challenges, but we can see also the spirit of the country. So we are around 150 delegations here, even more, and the spirit to have a legally binding instrument to combat and to eliminate plastic pollution in the world. The challenges are like in any other negotiation, how is the best way to go on? And we have seen, as I said, a good spirit, but still there are differences between the countries, different positions, and we have to put that together. What we have to consider is that we don't have too much time for this negotiation. We have less than 1.5 years, so we need to optimize our time, and that's another discussion that's going on, how to use the intersectional work. We are now here in Paris in the second round of negotiations. We will have 5 rounds of negotiation, and then between now, when we end today the negotiations, until we have the next round in Nairobi in Kenya, we will have some months where we could use our time also to discuss what's the best way forward and what's the best way to have, in the end, a good and ambitious treaty.
Can you explain a little bit what has been discussed in INC-2 and what will you hope to discuss at INC-3? And how can we as civil society, scientists and community groups support you and other delegations to build a strong and binding plastics treaty?
Yes. What we are discussing now is to start working already in a zero draft, in a text that will be, in the end, a draft text for the future treaty. So what we want now, the mandate from this negotiation, is that we will start with that text for the intersectional. So we will have a zero draft, a draft of the text that we will start discussing. The second part of your question is quite important, how the civil society, scientific community, academia, NGOs could contribute to the process. It's very important. Ecuador has been one of the leading countries in this proposal that the civil society, NGOs, and specifically scientific community should participate, and we believe that it must participate and contribute in the negotiations. How to do it? That's also a challenge. We are already we have a very strong relation and links with the experts, with the scientific community, but what we would like to see is that there is a formal relation between these stakeholders and specifically the scientific community with the process now in the negotiations, and maybe even more important later on for the implementation of the treaty. We need data, we need information, and we need scientific evidence that we have. We have the scientific evidence already, but it's also developing. And every day we know how dangerous it's plastic pollution in the environment and also for human health. So that information, that evidence, we need the negotiators for the negotiation and later on for the implementation of the convention.
We know the Ecuadorian delegation is proposing for the Global Plastics Treaty to be signed in Galapagos and for it to be called the Galapagos Treaty. Why is it important for the world to sign this once-in-a-lifetime treaty in Galapagos?
Yes, well, that's very important too. Ecuador received the suggestions from different organizations and also from some countries. As you know, Galapagos is quite fragile, and actually it is suffering, as any other island in the world, is suffering from plastic pollution. 96% of the plastic pollution that we receive in the Galapagos Islands comes from abroad, and Ecuador is doing great efforts to protect the islands. We have specific legislation for the Galapagos Islands, but it's not enough. We even have regional efforts with Colombia, with Panama, with Costa Rica, with CIMAR, with the corridor, with the marine corridor, but it's not enough. It's not enough national efforts, it's not enough regional efforts. We need a global solution for global problems, because this is a global problem. And the treaties, the conventions, the agreements are signed always in a place. And then we have Stockholm Convention, we have Basel Convention, Rotterdam Convention, we have Paris Agreement too on climate change. So we have proposed that Galapagos could be the place, and we believe that this should be the place to sign this treaty. As any other treaty, as I said, it has a name of a city, it has a name of a place, but here is more than just a name. Is what we want to show to the international community that what we need to fight against. We need to fight against plastic pollution to preserve places like the Galapagos Islands.
With all eyes on Galapagos, what do you want the global community to know about the island and the issue of plastic pollution? You have already said some things, but if you can expand, if you would like to expand on it.
Yes, here we want also to see a treaty that goes, or it has also a human rights-based approach. We want to see that also in the treaty, because we want to also to combat inequalities among human beings. That's also important. And we want to see this treaty also that could guide us in the path of a just transition. Ecuador is doing a lot about also ecological transition, not only on a name of a ministry that we have, the Ministry for Environment and Ecological Transition, but also with policies. And that's we need also in Galapagos. And also, of course, we want a treaty that will combat plastic pollution to preserve the environment and also to protect human health. And Galapagos has all these qualities, has the need to also work with human rights, the need also to combat, of course, plastic pollution, we have mentioned before, and also to work with the population in Galapagos, that's very important, to protect, yes, the environment and also to protect the health, human health in the island. So Galapagos has everything that we are working with this treaty that we could show that is needed for a good and ambitious treaty.
Can you please highlight the problem of plastic pollution from fisheries?
Yes. Actually, that's a quite important problem that we have to face and we have to focus in these negotiations, and we are doing. Fisheries or gears, fishing gears, are polluting a lot the environment. Just some data. Around almost 30%, 29% of all fishing lines that are produced, not that are used, but are that fishing lines that are produced in the world are already in the oceans. 6% of fishing nets stay in the water. Accidentally and also voluntarily, they are dumped into the water in the oceans, and that's destroying. Almost 560 species are in danger. Species are in danger because of fishing gear that is in the ocean. So we need to work on that. There is already a lot of discussion about this. I believe, or we believe in Ecuador, that we need to discuss even more about fishing gears and also the problematic of fishing gears, because it's production, and that's why we need to work about production, change also the way we produce some of the articles that are polluting the environment, polluting the ocean, and that includes fishing gear, and also about the use and reuse of the fishing gear. That's important. And then it's important to work with the fishers, with the industry, of course, and again, Galapagos is also in that line.